Hey guys, um, this is going to be a bit of a different video than my past videos. It's going to be about me making out with a girl at a club, and it's mainly for guys with social anxiety. Um, I know, you know, because I have social anxiety, um, how much I overthink and how scary a lot of these interactions can be. So I thought this was something maybe somebody out there might appreciate. Um, and just thought it might be fun maybe to talk about it. I don't know. But yeah, so let's get into it. So I've had social anxiety for about a decade and a half now, probably. My social anxiety is rooted in bullying um, and trauma. Some of it rooted in the bullying trauma, some of it familial. But yeah, I've been dealing with it for about. I'm 26 now. I've been dealing with it since I was about 12. Uh, yeah, but it's gotten through therapy and through a lot of exposure therapy and just putting myself out there. It's gotten significantly better. It still spikes at times. Sometimes it's low, but sometimes it spikes. But it is a lot more manageable, I guess. It's nowhere near like the extreme hyper state it used to be, which is good. But yeah, let's get into it. So basically, I live in the DC area. I'm just gonna name drop the club I go to, Madam's Oregon. I'm not sure how safe this is, but yeah, the bar slash club. It's kind of like a little bit of a mix. It's more of like a dive bar, but it's more a little bit more on the clubby side. But it's called Madam's Oregon, and I do go to bars and clubs a lot. But personally, for me, I'm not a big fan of the bar scene because I think it's a bit overrated. A lot like hookups don't really happen anymore. I think there's a pretty negative stigma around sex that I think a lot of women will fall into. But also, I think maybe women just don't want to have sex with some guy they meet on the first date. Um, but yeah, so I did go to bars and clubs. I used to be so fucking petrified of going in there because none of my friends go to bars or clubs, and so I had to go there alone. And I was so scared, like, where do I stand? How do I stand? What do I do? Are people watching me? Blah blah blah. All of that stuff happened. Um, but yeah, I had managed to like push through that. And fast forward like 2 3 years, I go to this bar that I used to frequent quite a bit, with not a lot of success talking to girls, but because that bar, it's going to a bar is really hard to talk to a girl because they're all in their own cliques. The music is so loud. They're all doing their own thing. They might be dancing. Madam's Oregon, probably one of the better spots to talk to a girl because there's live music. There's like 4 floors. You can kind of figure something out. You can maybe strike a conversation. It might be good. Might just get one word answers. Who knows? But yeah, I was feeling somewhat like going to Madam's Oregon for whatever particular reason that day, and so I went. Um, and at this point, I had been going to another club called Flash, and that's an actual like kind of club place. It's an EDM place. I actually go there for the music. I really like the music there. Um, and so that place, I think, gave me a lot of exposure therapy because the people there are a lot nicer. EDM community in general, people are pretty open and nice. Um, and that place had a lot more opportunities to socialize, and so I'd gotten more exposure therapy from there. And so at this point, when I come back to this bar, I felt fairly comfortable. Um, I had like one drink, and then I think maybe a couple hits off my THC vape. So there was some influence, but not a lot, I would say. Um, and yeah, so I had gone up to like the third floor. I think the first or second floor I had stuck around a bit, and I didn't have too much success. There wasn't really a lot of people to talk to. I don't really remember too much, but I'd gone up to the third floor. It's like kind of a third floor. It's like a it's like a midway, but yeah. I stand by the bar, and I don't. I just feel comfortable. And I'm just standing there. I just have a drink. And this girl, with her group of friends next to me, she gets her picture taken, by this random dude, and that's it. The dude goes back to talking to his friends, and I'm not good at taking pictures. I've never had a camera. I don't know how to operate a camera, but eventually the guy's still next to me, uh, and the girl asked like if one of us can take a picture, and I don't know how to take pictures. Honestly, I feel like it's a moral conundrum if I were to say yes. If I'm not good at taking pictures, maybe this gives you an idea of how much I think, how logically I can think, and then maybe a little bit of how much I overthink too. But yeah, so I just say fuck it and say yes. It felt wrong, honestly. It really felt wrong being like, oh, sure, I could take your picture. And I kind of fucked up the first picture, but like, I got the second picture down. And, old me with a lot of social anxiety would have like been fucking so scared because I fucked up the first picture already, blah, blah, blah. But I was just calm. She just told me, hey, this is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. And I did it. And I'm not too particularly interested in this camera or a conversation with her, but I'm like, oh, what kind of camera is this? I'm trying to get into photography, which, I've thought about it. Not too into photography, but I have thought about it. I'm just looking for peripherals. I don't know, trying to start a conversation with her, right? And so she's pretty like open to conversation, right? Some girls at clubs, they're gonna give you one word answers. They might just outright reject you. Um, some girls might be bitchy. Some girls might be really nice. Some girls you might just click with. Um, and so we just start talking, and we're pretty open to conversation. We're going back and forth. I'm getting to know her, but she's with her group of friends, and that makes it a little bit more complicated. Um, and I tend to get very anxious when a girl is with her group of friends and I'm talking to her because I take into account what their friends are thinking. I'm thinking, oh, like, what are her friends gonna think if I make a move on her? Um, like, what are her friends gonna think if I ask for her number? Like, I don't know. It's silly because I overthink it quite a bit. Um, and I've had interactions where I'm talking to a girl and she ends up introducing me to her friends, which it's harder to operate because I don't know if I'm supposed to talk to her friends. And I was like, hey, I'm just talking to you. We're reviving. But why did you bring me to your group of friends? But maybe I just need to train myself. Maybe I'm just not experienced enough, and I can kind of build that skill. But yeah, so I kind of talk with her friends a little bit, just a tiny bit. She kind of brings them in. I maneuver well. I don't engage in conversation with them too much, more than I don't need to, right? Um, and I continue talking to her, and I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail here, because I think people with social anxiety can think quite a bit into detail about this too. Maybe others not so much, but for me, yes, and I think others too. So basically, for me, it's how do I initiate things? How do I um, how do I get it to roll or domino into say like a makeout session as to what happened, right? Which is something I've thought about trying because it looked really fun, honestly. When I saw other people doing it at bars and clubs, other people might find it cringy, but I thought it looked fun, honestly. Um, but yeah, so um, I have a really hard time initiating physical touch. I don't want to make the other person uncomfortable, but I overthink it. I do overthink it. Because if a girl is uncomfortable, 90% of the time, you're gonna fucking see it. Not even 90% of the time, 99% of the time, right? And so just let her give you that signal, right? Um, and so I would kind of test the waters a little bit, which is an okay thing to do, right? It's kind of respectful. It's a respectful way to go about it, right? So thankfully, the good thing about bars and clubs is it gets somebody to lean in, right? So it gets somebody more like comfortable. Um, and so I would just kind of like maybe touch my hand to hers, right? Because we're kind of like there's like this chair at the bar. We're kind of like leaning in, like with each other there. I kind of leave my hand there, maybe like a second longer than normal, just to kind of see what happened. Um, and I kind of just went about that a little bit. And it's good. It's fine. Um, and I would leave it there a little bit longer. Sometimes I'm leaning in close to her, like shoulder to shoulder, and I would put my hand like around her back. Um, and that part scares me, right? Because like it sounds creepy. Um, but I leave it there for a second longer. I'm just testing the waters, right? No uncomfortability shown. Um, which is great. And her friends are still there. I'm aware now at this point about how much I overthink about like the person's friends because I had an experience with it before. Um, and I realized like I'm just taking into account way too much. Um, and thankfully, I got very lucky. Her friends are like, "Hey, we're gonna go downstairs. Do you want to stay up or do you want to come down with us?" And the girl's like, "I'll stay up here. I want to keep talking to him because I guess she's having a good time, right?" And I'm like, "Fucking great." I love that because like, I like it when friends will like give the person like let them make their own decision, right? Um, and so at a certain point, like, I think like 15, 20 minutes have gone by since I've like the whole conversation has been 15, 20 minutes. Um, and we're just talking a little bit more, and I'm keeping my hand around her. Again, this is scary. But I just did it, right? And there's no uncomfortability shown, right? Um, and so I'm like, okay, this is good. I can keep it around her, right? Um, and another big issue for me is going in for the kiss. Um, and I don't know when to do it. What if I get rejected? What if I make her uncomfortable? Blah blah blah. And I'm just getting a little bit closer. Um, and we're making eye contact and stuff. I think I could have gone for it at another point, right? Because I looked down at her lips, right? And like, this is a certain point, like when people are tipsy, like they look at each other's lips, you can kind of maybe go for it. You can go for it. And if your gut's telling you, a lot of time, like 50-50, 60-40, you can go for it. It's just going for it is the part that's scary. And also, there's people around you, so there's that, you know, social perception factor, which somebody with social anxiety will overthink. Um, and at a certain point, like I could have gone for it, and I didn't. And she kind of turned away to look at the bar, and you know what? I felt like it. I did want to go for this, and I didn't. I feel like I didn't cheat myself, and I just kind of leaned in. And I kissed her on the cheek, and I think she felt that, and she turned, and we're just talking a little bit, and I think the moment's gone just a little bit, honestly, like to go in for the kiss, but I'm like I kind of force it just a tiny bit, and I lean in a little bit, and she leans in even more, and we start kissing. And mind you, there's a lot of people around me. We're essentially in the center of the bar, and like if you've been to Madam's Orient, I think you might know which floor I'm talking about. It's like in between the top floor, but not the second floor. But yeah, we just started making out, and it was fun for like 2 minutes. But like for me, like I also have thought about having a one night stand. Um, I don't honestly think I want one anymore. I don't really care for one. Mostly because that might not even be what I'm looking for. Honestly, I like to cuddle, so I probably want something a little bit more serious. But um, I don't think I needed to go for this, honestly. Uh, but I start escalating things a little physically, right? Because I've seen other people do it at the bar club, so I'm kind of testing the waters a little bit. And I have my hand on her ass, basically, right? Hands. It's a little embarrassing to talk about. I don't know why. I shouldn't be embarrassed, right? But right, and there's people around at the bar that are seeing this. But we're making out pretty intensely, and like I said, it was fun for like 3 minutes. And I think this is just kind of like I'm just going with it, honestly, at this point. And I think we can't keep making out like just standing up like this. I don't think it's sustainable. And when I say that, I feel like it's gonna get boring quick. Like not only that, we don't have anything to lean against. I don't have anything to like we're not sitting down. We can't kind of like maneuver. Like it's we're gonna be in the same position. If we had something to lean against or sit down at, it would be different. And so I look for a place to sit down, and we don't have a place to sit down. Um, but eventually we find a chair, and we just continue the we just continue the makeout session quite a bit. We make out for like 20, 25 minutes. It's a long makeout session. And I got bored quick. Um, and, like, the music's loud, and so I don't think she can hear me talking to her as much. I ask her if she's comfortable. She says yes. Um, and yeah, we just continue making out. Her friends come back upstairs, and they're pretty surprised at us two making out. Um, I like that one of her friends is like patting her on the shoulders, like kind of like just hyping her up a little bit. I thought that was cool. Um, her friends seem pretty chill. But yeah, that was it. Yeah, I hope. I thought I'd give somebody with social anxiety, just maybe like a a plan or like a layout in their mind of what how something might play out. Um, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, hope that helped.